Have you ever laid in bed at 2 in the morning, staring up at the dark ceiling, feeling the absolute crushing weight of tomorrow before the sun even comes up? The house is dead silent, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator or the ticking of a clock. But inside your mind, a hurricane is raging. You roll over, the sheets tangled around your legs, and the glowing blue light of your phone illuminates the dark room. You look at your bank account, watching the numbers dwindle and calculating the impossible math of your survival. You scroll through your calendar, seeing deadlines and appointments that make your stomach tie into tight, painful knots. Or you think about that one deeply painful situation you simply can't control, a terrifying medical diagnosis, a fractured relationship, a child who has walked away, and a cold, heavy wave of panic washes over your chest. Your breathing grows shallow. Your heart hammers against your ribs. The shadows in the corner of the room seem to grow longer as the questions begin their relentless assault. What if you don't have enough? What if the worst-case scenario actually happens? What if everything just falls apart and there is no safety net to catch you? Anxiety has a cruel way of pulling you out of the present moment and dragging you into a future that hasn't even happened yet, a future where you picture yourself facing tragedies completely alone. If your mind is spinning with anxiety about the future right now, and you feel like you're drowning in the what-ifs, you need to hear this. You are not the first person to feel crushed by the weight of tomorrow. Picture the prophet Elijah in the Old Testament. The harsh, blistering sun of the desolate wilderness beats down relentlessly on the dry, cracked earth. The silence is deafening, broken only by the sound of his ragged, exhausted breathing and the crunch of his sandals against the unforgiving gravel. He's just experienced one of the greatest, most spectacular miracles on Mount Carmel, calling down fire from heaven. He stood before hundreds of false prophets, feeling the intense heat as flames fell directly from the sky, consuming a soaked altar. He heard the deafening roar of the crowd. He felt the triumphant rush of divine vindication. Yet here he is, just a short time later, completely collapsed under the meager, pathetic shade of a solitary juniper tree. The dirt and dust cling to his sweat-stained clothes. His mouth is parched, his lips cracked and bleeding from the arid desert wind. The terrifying weight of tomorrow, the specific and deadly threat of Queen Jezebel, who has sworn to end his life by this time tomorrow, has completely broken his spirit. The adrenaline has faded, leaving behind a hollow, aching void of depression and fear. He feels so utterly depleted, so incredibly terrified of what the next 24 hours will bring, that he simply asks God to let him die right there in the dirt. "It is enough," he whispers, his voice hoarse and trembling. "Take my life." He's completely empty. He has nothing left to give. Maybe you felt exactly what Elijah felt under that tree. Perhaps you're sitting in the ashes of your own exhaustion, feeling like the relentless demands of your life are a blistering sun beating down on your shoulders. You might be looking at your own looming threat, a massive bill, an impending court date, a terrifying confrontation, and you are begging God to just let you escape. But look at how God responds to Elijah's panic. The heavens don't part with a booming voice of condemnation. God doesn't scold Elijah for his lack of faith or lecture him about his anxiety. Instead, Elijah falls into a deep, heavy sleep in the dust. And then, a gentle touch wakes him. An angel of the Lord is there. The rich, comforting smell of freshly baked bread wafts through the dry desert air. A hearth cake is baking on hot coals right in front of him, alongside a cool, refreshing jar of water. The angel simply says, "Arise and eat." God meets Elijah's overwhelming anxiety about tomorrow with profound, gentle provision for his immediate physical needs today. He gives him a warm meal and a long nap. God knows that when you are drowning in the fears of tomorrow, you must first be anchored in His provision for today. If you are currently paralyzed by the fear of what tomorrow holds, let your mind travel to another vast, unforgiving desert. Picture the Israelites, a massive crowd of millions, standing in the wilderness of sin. The Egyptian army has been defeated, but a new, quiet terror has set in: starvation. The desert is utterly barren. There are no fields of golden grain, no fruit trees, no bustling markets. There is just endless miles of biting sand, jagged rocks, and the scorching sun. You can hear the crying of hungry children echoing through the camp. You can feel the hollow, sharp ache of empty stomachs. The panic among the people is palpable. How will they survive tomorrow? How will they feed their families next week? Then, the morning comes. As the heavy dew evaporates under the rising sun, the ground is suddenly covered with a fine, flaky substance, as delicate as white frost on the ground. It looks like coriander seed, and when they taste it, it melts on their tongues with the rich, sweet flavor of wafers made with honey. It is manna, bread directly from heaven. But God gives them a very specific, incredibly challenging instruction. Gather a certain quota every day. Let no one leave any of it till morning. Imagine being an Israelite parent in that camp. You have a pile of this miraculous bread resting in your tent. Your children have finally eaten to their fill and are sleeping peacefully. But your mind starts to race in the darkness. What if it doesn't fall from the sky tomorrow? What if God forgets? What if this is a one-time miracle? The sheer, overwhelming temptation to hoard it, to stuff extra manna into clay jars, to hide it under your sleeping mat, just in case tomorrow brings disaster, would be intoxicating. Yet, those who gave into the anxiety of tomorrow and hoarded the manna woke up to a horrifying sensory reality. The hidden bread bred worms. It rotted. The foul, putrid stench of decaying food filled their tents, a sickening reminder of their lack of trust. God was teaching them, and is teaching you, a profound truth about anxiety. God provides daily bread, not yearly bread. His grace is given in daily portions. When you try to reach into tomorrow and drag its potential problems into today, you are carrying a burden God never designed your shoulders to carry. The what-ifs of tomorrow will rot the peace of your today. You cannot hoard God's grace for next month's crisis. You must trust that when tomorrow's sun rises, fresh manna, fresh grace, and fresh mercy will be waiting for you on the ground. Perhaps your anxiety doesn't feel like a barren desert. Perhaps it feels like a violent, unpredictable storm. Stand on the wooden deck of a small fishing boat on the Sea of Galilee. The evening started out calm, the water reflecting the twilight sky like dark glass. But suddenly, the air pressure drops. The wind begins to howl with a deafening, high-pitched shriek, tearing through the rigging and snapping the sails. Massive, black waves rise up like mountains, crashing violently over the sides of the boat. The icy, stinging salt water blinds the disciples. The deck is slick, pitching wildly from side to side, throwing the men off their feet. You can hear the frantic, panicked shouts of grown men, experienced fishermen who have spent their entire lives on this water, screaming because they are absolutely certain they are going to drown in the dark. The wood is groaning. The freezing water is rising rapidly around their ankles, and the boat is sinking. And where is Jesus? He is in the stern, asleep on a cushion. Imagine the sheer bewilderment, the intense frustration of the disciples, the violent rocking of the boat, the freezing spray of the sea, the deafening roar of the wind. None of it has broken his peace. His chest rises and falls in a steady, calm rhythm, while the world around him is completely falling apart. The disciples grab him and shake him awake, their voices cracking with raw terror. "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Isn't that the exact question your anxiety screams in the middle of the night? "God, do you not care that my bank account is empty? Do you not care that my family is falling apart? Do you not care that I am drowning in this panic? Are you asleep while my life is sinking?" Jesus stands up on the violently pitching deck. He doesn't panic. He doesn't grab a wooden bucket to start bailing water. He simply looks out into the roaring blackness and speaks, "Peace, be still." In an instant, the wind dies. The shrieking gale turns into a breathless silence. The towering, violent waves instantly flatten into a glassy, perfect calm. The only sound left is the water gently lapping against the wooden hull and the heavy, awestruck breathing of the men in the boat. Jesus turns to them and asks, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" He wasn't sleeping because he didn't care. He was sleeping because he knew exactly who controlled the storm. He knew tomorrow was not in jeopardy, because the wind and the waves were entirely subject to his voice. Right now, you might be standing on the deck of a sinking ship. The black waves of "what if" are crashing over the bow of your mind. The wind of worst-case scenarios is deafening. But the same Jesus who slept through the storm on Galilee is in your boat. The same God who baked warm bread on hot coals for a suicidal, exhausted Elijah is watching over your exhaustion. The same Creator who blanketed the barren desert with sweet manna every single morning is already standing in your tomorrow, waiting to provide exactly what you need when you get there. You do not have to figure out how to survive the next 10 years tonight. You do not even have to figure out how to survive next week. You are only required to trust God for today. So, when you are lying in bed at 2 in the morning, and the dark ceiling feels like it is closing in on you, take a deep breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Refuse to let your mind travel to a future that God has not yet equipped you to handle. Instead, listen for the still, small voice that followed the wind and fire for Elijah. Taste the sweetness of today's provision. Watch the wind and the waves bow down to the authority of the one who holds your life together. Tomorrow has not been forgotten, because the God of today is already there. Let the heavy, crushing weight of your what-ifs fall from your shoulders, and rest in the absolute certainty that when morning comes, His mercies will be brand new.